Hey everybody, here's a video about how to use a sequencer in Unreal. A sequencer allows you to have moving objects in your game. Now this could be anything from a platform that's moving around to an elevator that's moving around that a player can get in and move with. Or it could be a cutscene where you have something happens, you finish a level, and there's an animation cutscene. A sequencer is used for that. Or it could be people even use Unreal to create animations on their own. So you can create an animation and then you could export it as a movie and put it on YouTube. So sequencers are really powerful. They could be used with in-game movement. They could be used as a cutscene, or they could be used to create your own animation that you're putting on YouTube or making movies with, or what have you. Today we're going to look at just in-game animation. So what we're going to do is, to start off, let's go over and open up a new level. And this is just to learn how to use a sequencer. So we're just going to do a basic level and hit create. And now, in this basic level, I'm going to go grab any static mesh I have. I'm going to go find something here. Let me go into my Megascans folder here, and let's use what do we got here? I have this rusty pinion here. I'm going to use this. It's very small. I'm going to scale mine up. You can use anything you want. There's no reason to be trying to find the same thing I have. Anything that you can kind of put on the screen will work just fine. I'll rotate it this way. All right, so we've got something like this. Now, this, I can see it here. I've got it selected, my rusty pinion gear right here. What I want to do is I want to add a sequencer. So I'm going to click on the little, let's go, movie. It's used in movies. I don't know what those are called, but they're used in movies. Add level sequence. It's going to say, all right, where do you want to put it? And I've already made a folder called sequences. You go ahead and make a folder named sequences, and then I'm going to call mine sequence tutorial, SEQ tutorial. Right here, say save. And we're just going to save over it. Okay, so sequence tutorial, that's what mine's called, and I have this little pinion here. Now down here, this is a timeline. I have a cursor. I have my starting area here, and my ending area here. So this is the kind of the film. This is the beginning, and this is the end. If I hit play, you'll see I'm getting about 30 frames per second. A frame is kind of a picture. 30 pictures per second, which makes what looks like a moving picture a movie. And I get about 5 seconds here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 5 seconds. If I wanted more, down here at the bottom, I can change what my max, my working range end is. So if I change this to, let's say, 1,000, you'll see this viewport gets smaller. I can pull this out to make it bigger. I can drag the ending out. Oop, didn't mean to do that. I can drag the ending out here. And now we can see I get significantly more time. I only want to do, you know, well, actually, I lost my ending there. I only want to do 150, so I'm going to drag this all back to where it was before, and I'm just going to go 150. I'm still too big. Let me just kind of move over. There we go. Just kind of clicking and dragging to move. I'm right-clicking to move over. I'm going to leave this back at, let's say, 150. So my end is going to be at 150. I'm going to take my cursor. I'm going to put it at the beginning. I'm going to stretch this out so I can kind of see. This looks pretty good to me. So 150 here. So now I want to move this pinion. So I'm going to select the pinion, and you'll see it selected over here in my outliner. I'm going to drag it into my sequencer. You'll see here it says transform here. Your transform, that's this, is the location of the object, the rotation of the object, and the scale of the object. We can change all of those over time. The first thing I want to do is say, okay, at this point at the beginning, I am going to set a key. I clicked right here to set a key. And that key says, remember what my transform is right at the beginning. Then I'm going to move my cursor, and I can move my pinion, let's say over here. And you'll see it automatically sets a key. It says you've moved your cursor, you moved your pinion. You see this little line here? You moved it over this period of time. I'm going to automatically set a key. If yours didn't automatically set a key, you can click here to set a key, or you can click on this, make sure this is selected. This will automatically set keys. So now what it says, all right, when I hit play, I'm moving across the screen over that period of time. What I can do now is I can actually click on, select this first key. I'm going to say Control C to copy. And I'm going to go to the end, right at the end, and paste. And this makes sure it goes back right where we began. So now when I hit play, I'm going to bring my cursor to the beginning. When I play, it moves across and back. Now notice, if I move this middle key, let's say move it really close to the end. Watch what happens. I hit play, it moves slowly, and then it's really fast. It's because it's taking less time to get the same distance here and more time to get the same distance here. So this is more time, but it's moving basically the same distance across. I like having this in the middle here. Maybe I want this to spin too. So I'm going to move my cursor to the beginning. It's actually all set there. That's fine. I actually don't need to move to the beginning. I can actually move it to the middle. And then I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. And you'll see now if I expand this, you'll see a key has been placed underneath rotation. And because this key was already placed before, it will rotate back to the original rotation. So we can actually watch it do this. If you look over here on the rotation on the left, it'll tell you what your rotation is. As it plays, your rotation is changing. The rotation is changing. You can see it's spinning as it moves back and forth. Go ahead, make sure you can do this. You can get something to move across space and to make it spin. Once you've got that, let's head into our levels and try to improve our levels by adding a sequencer. Okay, now that we've done that, let's go into one of our levels and create a sequence in one of our levels. It's going to add some dynamics to it, let's say. So I'm going to go to my map and move to level 1. Now, as I get into this, I'm not going to save, but you should save. You should definitely save. As I get into this, I want to point out that in my level, I am using all static meshes. Some of you may have been using brushes to create platforms. Brushes will not work as well in sequences. They're glitchy, it doesn't work, they're not made for sequences. Brushes are actually made to add geometry to a level to see how things look, and then to replace with static meshes. If you have if you have brushes in your level, I would advise you now to replace them with static meshes. And when I say static meshes, I mean like models like you would get from the Megascans. Replace them with models so that you can use sequences on them and they're just more permanent. You usually don't ship a game with brushes in them. If you're really in love with your brushes and how they are, I will show you at the end of this video how to convert a brush to a mesh. It's a little bit cumbersome, but if you really are in love with how your meshes are set, how your brushes are set up, and you don't want to replace them with something from the Quixel Megascans, then I will show you how to convert them to meshes later. This part of the tutorial, you cannot use brushes. You must be using meshes. And the way that you know it's a mesh, if I click on this pillar here, I can see it's a brick. That brick is telling me it's a mesh. You have to be using meshes. Okay. So now that I have this selected, I am going to create a level sequence. And I'm going to call this level 1 sequence. Level 1 SEQ. I'm going to save it into my sequences folder. Here, I'm going to select this mesh, and I'm going to take it and drop it over here. I'm going to add a keyframe, and then I'm going to move this mesh. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to move the cursor to the middle here, and then move the mesh, let's say over here. It's going to add a key for me there, and then I'm just going to copy this first one, bring it to the end. So now when this plays, goes over, let's see, kind of these moving pillars. Cool. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Select it on the screen, grab it from the side here, bring it over, move my cursor to the beginning, just like add a key, move it to the middle. Which one was it? I got this guy here. Move it over here. And then I'm just going to copy this key, put it at the end. So now when I hit play, I have two different meshes animating. Hit play. Going back and forth. Now let's say I want this to play during my gameplay, when my gameplay is going. I'm going to go to my level blueprint and say in this level, when I begin play, I am going to open sequence. Actually, let's just do this. Type in sequence player. Here, create level sequence player. I'm going to create a level sequence player. Which sequence am I going to use? I'm going to use my level 1 sequence. And then I am going to play. And you could play just once, or we could play looping. Or we could play in reverse if we wanted to. Or we could play to a certain position. I'm going to play looping. And the number of loops I'm going to have is -1. Often in programming, when you say -1 in terms of the number of times you do something, that means you're going to do it infinitely, over and over and over again. If I say 3, it's going to loop it 3 times. I'm going to leave it at -1 so it goes back and forth over and over again. And the target is not myself, because the self would be the level. The target is the return value of the sequence player. I'm playing whatever the sequence player is picking up, and it's picking up the level 1 sequence. Compile, save, head on over here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save everything too. So say save all, so I don't lose anything. And then when I hit play, these guys are moving back and forth. Quite a bit more challenging now. And, oh, just got knocked off. Pretty sweet, pretty cool. If you're using meshes, you can stop the video now and just start moving around meshes all over your level. If you want to convert something to a mesh, I'm sorry, a brush to a mesh, stay on this video. I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, so here I have just a brush I made. I brought in like a cylinder brush here. You can see it here, like this. And all I'm doing here is gonna go ahead and I'm gonna convert this to a static mesh. And the way that I do it, and I can tell it's a brush because when I see here, it's not, doesn't have this brick, right? The floor means a static mesh, the brick, it's this other thing. It's a brush. So I'm going to go ahead, make sure that my brush is, cylinder brush instance is selected. And then I'm going to scroll down, and underneath brush settings, you'll see advanced. You might need to expand this. Here, we need to say create static mesh. This will convert this brush to a static mesh. You should then make a folder. I made a folder called meshes. I'm going to call this cylinder mesh. Oh. Mesh. Cylinder mesh. And say create static mesh. This is then converted to a static mesh. You can see that because here now it's a brick. And now I can use this in my sequences. Pretty easy. Good luck. Have a great time.